Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for another Breakfast with Blaha. Today we're going to talk about why if you're sore all the time, it's killing your gains. And when I say killing your gains, I don't mean that it's necessarily causing less muscle growth. It's that it's going to reduce your drive and motivation to train consistently, and there's no benefit to it. So you see that a lot, and I occasionally get a new client who will say, "Oh, I want to get sore," and it's like, that's your goal? What do you mean you want me to get you sore? Like if you want to get sore, you could take an ice pick and just stab the hell out of your leg 4 or 5 times, and it'll get plenty sore. But what does this have to do with training? I mean, I thought you're hiring me to get you bigger and stronger, faster. Right? Why do you care about being sore? And it's because they've been given this idea that soreness is somehow related to muscle growth, and it's not. It's not. Usually, if you're getting sore too often, and I get DOMs sometimes, it does happen, and I've said, man, I've had workouts that gave me bad DOMs, but usually what causes it? I've done too much volume on too hard of an exercise, like after a deload week, right? I've done too much volume on a novel movement pattern. That causes you to get sore. And notice I said too much volume. I didn't say doing a new movement. I did more than I should have. Too many sets. It's usually a big cause. But what makes us sore? Too much of a novel training response. Not being adapted to training. So people get sore. The three things that tend to cause it, and they're all potentially bad, other than one of them. All right, number one, you're waiting too long to train again. Your muscles have way over recovered, possibly even started to detrain some of your strength. And then you train again and they get sore. For example, people who have a leg day every week, right? Who just have a leg day. They train their legs once a week. And they get sore every single time they train legs. Okay? All of these leg day memes were, I hurt and I can't walk the next day and I'm stumbling out of the gym. That doesn't happen to me, and you guys see my leg days. I've had some people say your lower days would kill me. I usually go take a walk afterwards a lot of times, right? A lot of times after leg day, I either immediately go get on my bike and ride it for an hour, or I walk down to the store, get groceries, and walk back home with a backpack full of food. That's what I do after a leg day. I rarely get sore. If I get sore, it's because I've done something wrong. I don't get sore from leg days. Doing a really hard leg day, like for example, that one time you guys saw me do the 605 squat, and then I did half of that weight for 3 sets of 20 and then a bunch of other accessory work. I wasn't sore the next day because I trained my legs twice a week. It's that spacing it out too far. If you're training something only like once every 7 days, and you're doing a lot of volume with it, that's what's going to make you sore, right? Because you're waiting so long to do it that you're detraining again. After I do a deload week, sometimes when I come back, I get sore. A lot of you guys will see the same thing, but I mean, if you're spacing stuff out too far, right? That's what causes all that leg DOMs, though. Number one, too infrequent of training. Number two, too much training volume, particularly with a novel training response. You did too much work on an exercise you're not used to or a movement pattern you're not used to, right? Have you come in and do good mornings? You've never done a good morning or Romanian deadlift in your life. You come in and you do 5 hard sets of either one on your first day, doing them. You're going to be really sore the next day. If you come in and you do too many sets, so if people do something crazy like exceeding 10 sets for muscle in a workout, 10 hard work sets, what do you think is going to happen? You're going to be sore the next day. So again, we extrapolate that back to the leg day thing. Extrapolate that back to the leg day thing. If you're doing legs only once a week and you're doing 15 sets for your quads, or 15 sets for your hamstrings in one day, and you only do it once a week, you can't walk the next day. Does anybody think that this is optimal for muscle growth? Only training a muscle once a week, we know twice as close usually produces slightly more hypertrophy in most of the studies. So not necessarily optimal timing. We know based on most of the studies that exceeding about 10 sets for a muscle group in a single day, right, of true sets, meaning stuff that hits it hard, because we could argue that a lot of things are half sets. Right? Rows are not a full set for your bicep. Bench is not a full set for your tricep, so on and so forth. You're exceeding your optimal daily training volume. You usually gain a little bit less muscle. This is what studies show. That people who do 15 sets for a muscle in one workout, when they're compared to people who do 10, gain slightly less muscle. People who do 20 gain even slightly less muscle again. Okay. These are the two things that contribute massively to soreness. And again, novel training response. Putting a new exercise in. Sometimes we only want to do a couple sets for a new exercise. If you do too many, you get sore. It's not indicative of growth, though. None of these things are indicative of muscle growth. What else causes it? Eccentric loading. All right, eccentric loading. But eccentric loading beyond a certain threshold doesn't cause extra hypertrophy. There is a link between eccentric work and hypertrophy. Doesn't mean you can't maximize hypertrophy without it. You can maximize muscle growth doing concentric only, and I want that to be clear. It takes more effort. It would be really difficult to do. You have to do more total reps, more total sets. So putting a little bit of focus on eccentric work can have some merit. To a point, not doing really slow ones, because when eccentrics exceed 4 seconds, again, they produce less muscle growth on the lab when we look at it, even in advanced lifters. Too much eccentric work will make you sore, right? A lot of eccentric work will. Stretch position movements don't always make you as sore as eccentric loading. So you do a bunch of really slow eccentrics. Even if you take them to that optimal range, the 1 to 4 seconds is your optimal range for eccentrics and hypertrophy based upon the data. Again, unless you're using a cheap movement that creates eccentric overload. All right, that 1 to 4 second range. So you go towards the longer end of it, and you do a bunch of 3 and 4 second eccentrics. If you do a lot of them, you're going to be sore. You're going to be more sore as a result of it the next day. But you didn't gain extra muscle by adding that extra second to all those eccentrics. You just went to the slower end of the range that seems to produce the most growth, but it will make you more sore. So people will say, but I like being sore. Are you sure? Like, you really want to be sore? Because training, this is a lifetime thing. If you're serious about this, you're still going to be doing this in 20 years. I'm 44. I'm going to be 45 by the end of the year. I've been training a long time. I mean, I've been doing YouTube at this point, YouTube fitness for 9 years. Okay, you're still going to be doing this for 20 years. You really want to be sore every day for the rest of your life? This is something you think you're going to enjoy? No, it's going to actually make it harder for you to be motivated to go train. It will eventually start to impact you negatively. You might be a good motivation for a little while when you're new. You're going to get tired of it. You're going to be tired of being sore every single day. It will eventually reduce motivation. It will reduce motivation for most people, and it's not serving any constructive purpose. Right? It's not giving you any more muscle growth. In some cases, it's indicative that your training is not optimal, and it can reduce motivation. Over time, that's going to contribute to potentially less gains. Like, this is not useful to you. All right, guys, well, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.